the right to assign the contract to other people within the period or the term of the contract. Okay. Hey, what's going on? This is Ola coming to you live from my myEmpirePRO studios. On this episode, I have a question that came in as a post, and I definitely want to address it. And here goes the question. Let's have some fun with this question. About to have my first contract signed. Guy is waiting on me at Eat and Park. Looked over the contract and I'm confused. What does 4A says? It's non-assignable. Why does 4A, I guess it's a part of a real estate contract, says it's non-assignable? All right, so this is basically a real estate contract question, real estate wholesaling contract question, and basically it's saying not assignable. A couple of things I want to point out here, okay? First of all, yes, from a conventional standpoint, you were taught that you should look for you should look to put houses on that contract, and that contract needs to be assignable. It needs to have at the end of the name of yourself or the buying entity. If it's an LLC, you want to have a sign and or. Okay, that way that simple two-word phrase clause turns that contract to give you the right to be able to assign that contract to someone else. Okay, so that's typically the conventional knowledge in real estate wholesaling. For those of you that may be brand new to real estate wholesaling simply means you find a deal, a property that's being offered to you, or that you've been able to secure at least 35% discount off of the after repair value, right? Minus the cost of repair, right? So that will be a deal. That will be a deal that investors look for, because essentially they want to be able to add value to the property, put it back on the market, sell it, and then make a profit, right? So it's a for-profit business. So now the way the the way the real estate investors find their deals a lot of times is through partnerships, or through people like you and I that we can basically get to work and learn how to market, which is what you learn inside of the book Smart Real Estate Wholesaling. Learn how to market, find these deals, and then assign the contract for assignment fees to investors, right? So it's a pretty slick thing in theory, but when it comes down to it, it becomes very difficult. 99% of wholesalers are not making money. It's just what it is. You know why? Because most people are not willing to put in the work that it needs to learn marketing, to master marketing. And it's not just learning marketing, because everyone can learn promotion, or just spread the word, just talk about it, post. But mastering marketing is a different ballgame entirely, and it comes from repetition. Okay, that's why I tell you to go download this book for free and make sure you read it 10 to 15 times. Okay, so with that being said, that's what assignment in real estate wholesaling is. That's actually essentially what real estate wholesaling is. Being able to assign contracts to investors that are willing to add value to a property. Okay, so your own responsibility as a wholesaler is to find people, motivated sellers that are willing to give you the $100,000 home for $65,000 minus whatever it costs to repair it. If it's $200,000, they're willing to give you the house for $130,000 minus whatever it costs to repair it. When they give you a contract, that means they sign a contract over to you saying they're willing to sell you the house for that price, which it becomes a deal. Then you're able to assign. So this person is saying there's a part of the contract that says it's a non-assignable contract. So basically, some people have created contract out there where they added the clause, and basically that makes it, if you assign the contract will automatically be void. You know what void means? It means it never existed. Okay, so void is not the same thing as delete. Okay, if you're familiar with computer language at all, when you say delete, that means it existed and then you delete it. Void means it never existed. Okay, so you definitely, if you have that clause in there, there are a few things you can do to make it assignable. Okay, because if it doesn't mention assignable, that also can by default means you can't assign it. They can turn around and say, hey, you never told me, you never disclosed to me that you're going to be assigning it. That's why it was encouraged from the very foundation of real estate wholesaling to always put assigned and or. That right next to your name, that means you have the right to assign the contract to other people within the period or the term of the contract. Okay, so the best thing you can do, a very simple solution to that, is cross out where it says it's non-assignable. You cross it out and you have both of you, the parties in the contract, you have both of you initial that area. Okay, if you do that, that solves your problem easily. That's the first thing I wanted to point out to you. The second thing I really wanted to point out to you is the fact that it doesn't matter. Okay, it really doesn't matter. Okay, when it comes down to real estate wholesaling, it's a game that's heavily done based off of the trust, the rapport that you build with the motivated seller and your prospect altogether in general. Okay, so that includes, there are two types of prospects you would have in a real estate wholesaling transaction. You have the motivated seller, and then you have a qualified buyer. Any of these parties, including yourself, can back out of the deal and nothing will happen. You know why? Because there's no serious money at stake. The reason why there are contracts is because when people break contracts, you want to be able to sue them. Okay, it's for litigation possibilities, right? Just in case you have to sue somebody for stealing money from you or wasting your time. But usually it's not worth anyone's time chasing after someone to give you a house. So let's say, for example, you found a motivated seller. They were facing, they have a vacant property and they've decided they wanted to sell it to you for $55,000. The property needs about $10,000 of work. The property is worth $100,000 after repair. So 65% of that is $65,000. It costs $10,000 estimated to repair. So that they compensate you for that. So they're giving you a contract for $55,000, right? So now you put the house under contract. They sign the contract. You sign the contract. You go to work to identify a qualified buyer and then assign the contract, right? Let's say the term on the contract says 15 days. That means transaction will actually close in 15 days. In 15 days, you haven't found a qualified buyer, which is the most of the stories you're gonna hear out here, right? And you haven't found, and then it goes, oh yeah, but you couldn't assign it. I'm gonna sue you. It doesn't work like that, okay? Is it possible? Never say never, but does it happen like that? No, it doesn't, okay? It just doesn't. They'll rather give you 3 days, 4 more days, even 15 more days to make it happen, because remember, they're motivated, right? And they just want to get rid of the property. So they're not necessarily going to say, hey, you're wrong with me, I'm going to go sue you. It doesn't work like that. Let's say, for example, you assigned the contract and the person turned around and said, hey, you're selling my house for an additional $10,000. You're making $10,000 off of my deal. And no, I'm not going to do the deal anymore. They can back out. Now the question is, does your contract allow you to be able to sue them? Yeah, you could go waste your time in court if that's what you want to do. But again, you're at the mercy of the powers that be, right? You'd rather just move on to the next deal available in the pipeline, right? So again, if you're stuck on real estate wholesaling contracts, and you're trying to figure out what's the best way to protect yourself. How come this clause says this, says that? If that's what you're worried about and you're not closing deals, there you go. You're wasting time. You're not making money, which is the actual result you're trying to get. So instead of worrying about that, go to your real estate wholesaling meetup in your local area. You just have somebody mail you one. If they don't mail you, keep it simple. If you have a contract already that you can, read through it and just it's really mental. When people sign those papers, it's mostly mental. They feel obligated to honoring you, not necessarily the contract. They talk to you, they build rapport with you, they like you, right? Because people won't do business with you regardless if they don't know, like, and trust you. KLT factor, right? If you've picked up this book, you know what KLT factor means. Know, like, and trust. I elaborated on that because it's applicable anywhere you're trying to advertise or in any type of advertising copy you create to try to attract deals, right? is applicable there. So it doesn't matter. What matters is the know, like, and trust factor, the KLT factor. If you have that in place, verbal contract is just as good. But of course, you don't want to do that. When people sign, there's something, when you grab a pen and you sign a paper, there's something it does to the brain, and it has nothing to do with litigation or if they can sue you or not. It has nothing to do with that. It just does. It's like you're writing something in your brain when it happens. That's why they tell people to create vision boards and things like that, because you're almost bringing something that was just in the mind into reality when you do that. And that's the role that contract will play in real estate wholesaling most of the time. A lot of time you get to closing and your lawyer will say, hey, that contract wasn't good, we need to draw another one. And it's not a big deal. They will draw another one. They'll say, hey, this is the new contract, sign it. They still have to sign paperwork at the closing anyway. The actual binding paperwork are actually being signed at the closing, and everything that got you to the closing table is basically the KLT factor. So stop worrying yourself about factors that don't matter when it comes to the actual process before you get to a closing. Okay, it doesn't matter. You can unscribe, of course, don't do that, but you can. And if a person know, like, and trust you enough, they'll still do business with you. Okay. My first deal ever, I was gonna make $20,000. The seller turned around and said, hey, I'm not selling you the house. You're not gonna make $20,000 off of me. Then I thought about it for a few minutes. I said, you know what, I'll give you $10,000 more. And he said yes, and we closed my first deal ever. It was still $10,000. Okay, so that was December 2005. Don't dwell over the nonsense. You gotta get going. You gotta start filling your pipeline. Filling your pipeline in abundance is where you win in this game, and that's something I cover extensively in Smart Real Estate Wholesaling. So if you're brand new here, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you click the red button and the gray bell right next to it. Make sure you click on that. Or if you're on your phone, just tap on it and you'll be subscribed. You'll get notified every time I release a new video. Don't forget this book is absolutely free on my website. If you want the paperback, you can also access it from there as well too. Hopefully you've been enlightened and educated, and I will see you on the next one, and peace.